Good evening or morning, depending on where you are watching this today. Hello, everyone. I'm Mama Rita, known as Mama Rita Money. I'm Rita Bacuzzi, and it is time to feel good about money. I love having discussions around money because it's actually not really common for women to do that. And I want us to all get comfortable doing that. So tonight, I'm super, super excited about the guest I have because this is a woman influencer that has personally influenced me and many, many other women to be multiple six figure earners in their lives. And when you hear about her story of starting out in the projects to, fast forward to the future, she was in painting contracting, if you can imagine all things, to being a influential inspirer around empowering women and money and their money stories, creating the shifts, creating the changes. Because as she put it, the quote that we're starting out with is, we are all gifted. And I'm going to say she has true wisdom and a true gift to bring out our gifts, especially as women, and how we share about money. We start out with this big dream, but sometimes that big picture is about the tiny triumphs, the tiny deposits that we made over time to get to that big dream, the deposits of hope and faith to create the shift. And by hanging out with amazing individuals, we create change. And we're going to touch on all of these subjects, a little bit of myth busting, what it's like to be resilient, to really, really have that bounce back factor to create change in our lives. And guess what? We can DIY it. We can do it ourselves. And so we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And I know I'm keeping you in suspense of who our guest is, and she's going to share really amazing tips. And I'm going to say, words are our world. They can build us up and they can take us down. So if you have a piece of paper and pen ready, one of the things that Tina Donnelly, who is Executive Vice President of Five Rings Financial, a business owner, a mentor, a grandmother, a mother, a sister, and a friend, and I'm going to say to us all, once you get to know her, you will see her heart, her passion, her vision, and her mission to really elevate all of us. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Tina. Hi, Tina. How are you?
Thank you for the beautiful introduction. I'm thrilled to be here with you tonight.
Oh my gosh. I am so, so super excited because I'm going to say, we met about 6 years ago. It will be 6 years in January. And for me, it feels like a lifetime in a really positive way because it did a lifetime of unlearning stories like super fast, like on hyperdrive. When I think about it's only been 6 years and 6 years to wipe out 52 years of the stories, the things I told myself, that I couldn't, that I wasn't worthy, um, the shift that happened. Literally, when you think about it, it's blink of an eye. It's a drop in the bucket. And it's through inspiring leaders like yourself that we get to create that shift and that change. So I definitely had to bring you. I couldn't wait for you to get on the show so that we could start to share like we always do, really authentically, being real, not holding back, and connecting. So again, I just want to really say thank you for being here. And I want to thank all my guests out there for being part of the community of learning, because without them, we wouldn't be able to spread this amazing message and the gifts that you share. And I'm going to say pull out of each one of us. And it's definitely, for me, that's a great time to feel good about our money stories, and ourselves. So I will get us started with a little bit. I want them to know more about you. I mean,
Okay.
I think we always learn nuggets as we go on in time, because I think when we have a lifetime of stories that we build upon, different ones come out and different stories show up, I'm going to say just at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that resiliency today, we were talking, actually, I'm just going to pull, I have a notebook, is about, when we have disappointments in life, that's our opportunity to create amazing goodness in the lives of others.
Yes.
And restore and resurrect our
Mm-hmm.
faith, our hope in moving forward. So I'm going to ask you to share a little bit and give a little bit of or a lot of bit of yourself.
Okay.
And kind of start back, I remember you were talking about, your dad and your family and where you lived when you were young. So
Yeah.
I would love for you to just share from the heart.
So the projects is a great word, but it isn't exactly where I came from. I was raised in the Midwest.
Ah.
So my father was in construction. We moved at least once a year, and not, on the times when schools start and stop. We lived in a trailer that we would pull from job site to job site. So the projects that are maybe in your mind from that word, for me, looked like cornfields and, kind of farm country in the Midwest. So small little towns. The resiliency factor was not a luxury; it was a necessity, because I don't think I by the time I was 13, I had gone to 13 different schools.
Wow.
And so I was always the new kid. Never knew the teacher's name. So it was very, very unusual. I had my father, my mother, and my sister as the only people that I knew any length of time. So kind of a different background, and a little bit unusual, but I'm sure that it had a lot to do with shaping me to be resilient. Make my own choices, make my own decisions. Some environments were great and warm and loving, and some were not, depending on where we were at. So you kind of just, kids are resilient. And so it was an interesting upbringing. My mother was both my parents are from, depression time. And so my mother's money story was, we can't afford that. That was the mantra. Didn't matter if it was a pack of gum or a new pair of shoes for school. We can't afford that was always the money story that I was given. And so kind of that lack mentality was very prevalent and normal from, the upbringing that she had in the Depression. So that was interesting to overcome.
And so, as a young kid, were your thoughts always in alignment with your parents?
No. I was always the black sheep of the family. I was always the one being told, can't you just be normal? Can't you be like everybody else? Can't you just focus? And can't you just, I was dyslexic, so that, added to the, some of the interesting times that I have. But yeah, so what I learned later, when I was a kid, I don't know if the word entrepreneur was even out there. But what I learned as a young adult, as I started into my working career and worked for small companies and was always trying to fix things, and I would occasionally get fired because of that. What I learned was it was actually kind of an entrepreneurial spirit and some, maybe innate natural leadership qualities that I was gifted from somewhere. Certainly none that were encouraged or focused upon. I look back on that and realize that all of my natural gifts and talents were totally out of my mother's comfort zone or anything that she knew about. And so I was always directed to what her value system was and what her belief systems were. And so, years later, you figure out that, oh my gosh, I had all these little breadcrumbs along the way that had somebody been paying attention, that it might have been a little easier for me to find my way earlier. But in retrospect, the School of Hard Knocks is a very good school. So
I'm gonna say I agree with you. When we were talking and I heard a little bit about this black sheep, for me that resonated. That resonated because I'm gonna say, growing up, I felt like the odd duck.
mhm.
My interests were different than everybody else. I was an immigrant. I'm going to say I was born here, but my parents were immigrants, and we lived as if we probably just had moved here. And so a lot of the thinking and a lot of the thoughts not only were the same for kids I went around to school with, but when I would come home, I'm going to say I had an American education, but an Italian upbringing. So there was a lot of conflict and a lot of confusion because my parents too, grew up in the farms and in southern Italy, and there's a different mentality. So I remember going to therapy, and I was asked this question: black sheep, really, or white, right? So I put this out here because I think so many people resonate with that black sheep, right? And when we look at this and the meaning behind it, it just means that you're different, right? You're the odd duck. Um, but I remember having a therapist say to me, "Did you ever think that you just might be the white sheep amongst all the black ones?" It still made me the odd one,
Yeah.
but it gave me a different sense of purpose, right? Because the one that is the odd one is that, I'm going to say, influential thinker, if we don't let it beat us down.
I would agree. I think that it's probably that you have some natural innate qualities that are maybe leadership qualities or very creative thinking or the people that see things differently, that are inventors and discoverers and explorers, and so it's interesting that we don't recognize and embrace that. Now, I think there are communities that are certainly now, and people that are on this show definitely are more in along those lines of watching their children differently and trying not to label and box and stifle. We're the ones trying to break these rules and break these traditions and really make change. And it's very, very exciting to see. So I hope anybody listening that's ever felt like, oh gosh, I got scolded all the time. I got told to do things that I didn't enjoy doing. I got put on the wrong track. The counselors at school told me I don't have a chance. All those stories, it just means that you need to find other input and other guidance to help you put your breadcrumbs together and to hone and own and find an environment that will allow you to discover and embrace and grow your natural gifts and talents, because that's where we flourish. Your word, flourish, is all about being in our authentic passion parts of life. And whatever those areas are, we can be very successful and very fulfilled. It's when we're working against that and our soul is crying that we struggle and have depression and anxiety and are missing joy in our life.
I so agree with you in the sense of, I think our parents that came before us, they have wisdom, they have knowledge, but they also sometimes come with a little bit of baggage. None of us comes out completely pristine on one side or another. I think it's up to us to recognize what might be their blocks, their fears, and where maybe we can engage in having a little more faith than fear. And it doesn't take great big faith, although that propels you faster. But we do need community. We do need learning and connection and understanding in groups. And just like you said, we get to step into our greatness, but if we aren't positioned with that question, right, that empowering question, then how do we even know greatness is within us? Because I remember the first time I heard that, it floored me. And I was a mother going to a wealth building program, bringing my at the time, 14-year-old and 17-year-old belong, because I knew that there were words that in my circle I wasn't hearing.
Yeah.
So the beauty is, you know, we want to lead people to feel great about money. So how do we take that steps? Like, what message would you really like to get out to our listeners about that? I know you touched a little bit about on this, and as far as, you know, the school of hard knocks, and that, you know,
Well, I think it's conversations like these that really help. You know, getting into an environment that talking about money is not taboo, and where you're actually involved with people that do have real information that can be helpful for you. I wish that I remember when somebody told me a few years ago, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were told or taught taught all of the things that we do in our Money 101 classes. Those are the left brain, you know, building blocks of what we do with money. But as far as the emotional side of money, what if we approached money like a relationship? You know, like when we're making a new friend or dating a new person, and you're excited to find out about it, and you're excited to learn about it and explore it, and you're not afraid of it. And you know, if we could have a relationship like that with our money, wouldn't that be wonderful if we just almost felt like it was an entity or it was a friend? And when you take care of your friend and you pay attention to your friend and you invest time in your friend and you get to know your friend, it makes the relationship easy and healthy and happy. And your money will work hard for you when you're paying great attention to it and knowing it and loving it and appreciating it and respecting it. But we're taught that money is scary and money is hard, and life is hard and work is hard and everything is hard. And you know, those are the myths that I would love to blow up for everyone, because it's just a shift, right? It's a shift in your mindset. I know you mentioned something in the beginning about stress and struggle and strife, and I made a decision 2 years ago with the word challenge. And I noticed that I would say it once in a while. Oh, I'm feeling challenged today, or oh, this is challenging me, uh, and and I decided to change my meaning of challenge to be an opportunity to learn and to grow and to overcome some limiting belief that I have. And just that fast, the entire thing changes. So it's really about, can we move into an area of being aware of what's limiting us, and much of that is our talk, and then also being introduced to an idea, right? Like, that's a simple idea, but I learned it somewhere. Somebody taught me, what if you just it may well have been in one of our Wine, Women, and Wealth classes, where we talk about, if you change the word budget to spending plan, does it feel different? Oh, well, that might be something I could get on board with, but I hate budget, right? I've been taught to hate that word. So some of the changes can be, it's just a matter of awareness. It's like, you know, they talk about, can you see something if you don't have a word for it?
you know, I'm going to say totally in alignment with me, because these words, when we talk about our belief system and busting these myths, it really is about having an awareness of what is indoctrinated beliefs that we're having versus formulated ones, right? Are we being, like, I'm going to say, force fed and shoved down our throat these beliefs? Or is it like, I got to learn something new? You know, if we can think about, I mean, as we grow, we're constantly learning new things, right? As children, we're learning to take baby steps. We're learning to walk, you know, when babies learn how to do raspberries and things like this, you know, it's this new thing that then you all of a sudden start doing on your own. And we just keep on graduating. And instead of allowing what others are telling us to be gospel, we verify and vet that information, or we show up in communities and have conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It makes life a lot easier, you know, and words, again, are so super powerful. And that's what I'm going to say, like, you're one of the best wordsmiths I know about when we have a challenge. And I remember changing my word, it's hard to do,
Yes.
to it's a challenge to do. And so when I did that, the word challenge to me also meant, oh, a challenge in my world is something to be overcome.
Uh-huh.
That's like literally, oh, that's a challenge. Oh, I wonder how I can like jump over this hurdle and make it easier. And budget too. That's another word that like just makes my skin crawl because it sounds like a diet for your money. And I don't know about you, we don't want skinny wallets and we don't want skinny bank accounts. So, like you said, it's like a spending plan. So, as I go through and develop this, a lot of times, like students and clients, they'll be like, I was like, oh, you know what? I think it's not just a spending plan. I think it's a prosperity spending plan.
There you
Right.
go. I love
And
that.
then another client was like, well, can I add the word abundant prosperity spending plan? I'm like, wow, you know what? Look at what our brains just did.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we start to share this, we get to shift it. Our parents, God love them. It's all that they know. I'm going to say, the one thing that keeps on coming up in my mind as we're talking is my mom loves to give gifts, right? A lot of us love to give gifts because of that wonderful feeling. But not a lot of us are good at receiving gifts, which is when you can shift that, you open up a whole new world. And I remember getting to teach my mom the lesson, although it was kind of hard because she almost cried because she was going to give me a gift and I said, I can't accept it. And she just looked at me. I'm like, your mom cannot accept a gift from me. I said, oh, yes, I can. Remember when I wanted to give you this, like whatever it was, a week ago, a month ago? You wouldn't take it from me because you said I was your daughter. I said, but I know, like in your heart, you want me to be happy, right? And it gives you joy to give gifts. Do you think it gives me the same joy? So when my own mom says, I can't receive from you, it breaks my heart.
Right.
A little bit. And she started to tear up and said, okay, I won't ever do that again because a light bulb went on.
Right.
And I think a lot of times for a lot of us, we've just grown up with so many, this is the order of how we do things that we're not even realizing that we're actually causing a disconnect in a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that starts like with what you said, conversations and communications around what we're around money, because you said taboo. Okay, I don't know about you. You've been hearing a lot of talk about politics lately. I know we're not going to broach on that subject, especially the eve of election. But the reality is, there's a lot of conversation around politics, religion, sex, even all over the place. But money. And so if where maybe somehow our money is on that budget, on that diet where the wallet is skinny and the savings are skinny, and we don't know how to shift that, how do we do it without a conversation? And I'm going to say, I know that these are the things that I've learned from you.
Well, you bring up such a good point with so you mentioned we may be indoctrinated. Well, we absolutely are indoctrinated by our family and the traditions that come with our family and the traditions that come with our culture and the traditions that come with wherever we live on the planet, be it Italy or the United States or anywhere else. We are indoctrinated by our parents and our DNA, all who went before us, and leaders, our teachers and our ministers and our preachers and our politicians, and we're indoctrinated. And so it's I'm going to go back to the word. If we don't have a word for it, can we see it? So here's something to think about in a little story. If our indoctrinations, if our beliefs were in a refrigerator and we could pick them up and see if there was an expiration date, some of them may be very, very expired. So we have to think about, is this belief serving me now, or do I need to rewrite that hardware or software? And so it's just an awareness of in any situation, what is my belief here? And so many of them about money. Did your parents talk about money, or were you sent out of the room? So I was sent out of the room. It was private. So you don't learn much there. Or money's hard, or every time they talk about money, somebody cries or somebody gets angry. Like, all of that programmed us. And so we need to take a little look at that and see, wow, do I get triggered and angry every time I have to sit down and pay bills because I'm angry? Or did I learn that?
Right.
And if I learned it, don't want to keep it, or is it expired and I need to get rid of it and reprogram it? So I love that you're having these conversations, because I really believe, as easy as it was for me to change my identity with challenge, it can be just a nugget, a nugget that someone hears here tonight that's going to shift everything. And that's what we're all about. That's what your work is. That's what my work is. Let's open the door for conversation, and let's figure out what's serving us and what's not. Let's get some good information about the building blocks of money. Money is not scary or hard. When I came into this, Rita, you mentioned it in the beginning, my husband and I were $250,000 or more upside down in losing a business from a job that went bad. So we had no confidence about money. So to come into this environment and want to work with it was like, can I even do this? How can I learn it? Why haven't I learned it? We sat in one of our informational classes. We learned from the CEO of the company, Mike, and I'm like, how could I have been a business owner all these years and not know these things about money? How are we not taught these things that are simple and easy and I could have learned in high school, certainly in college? Why do we not know this stuff? And I was angry, because had I known them and been using some of these strategies, some of our money would have been protected from what we went through with the loss of our business. And we wouldn't be starting over in our late 40s. And then I became like, that warrior spirit comes out, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, if I don't know this, who else doesn't know this? I can't be the only one. And lo and behold, most of us as normal, hardworking people are trying to do all the right things. We just don't have the information to make the right choices. And so, and when you take money as an institution, it's wrapped in all kinds of language, speaking of words, that can be intimidating, that can be confusing. And I think they do that on purpose, because as long as I've been doing it, over 17 years, conceptually, it's not really hard. It's just that it's wrapped in all this BS. And so if we can get through that, and you know this from all your years of training, that, oh my gosh, the industry itself can be very confusing. And many times, I think, especially as women, we're usually working with someone who is a male, and they can be a bit condescending with us. And they're just going to tell us what to do because they're programmed to do that, right? Programmed to fix it, help us, tell us what to do. And so we have to be proactive in finding environments where we're going to learn enough that we know that we don't have to put up with that, and that we can find new resources and new ways of educating ourselves to the point that we know enough to be comfortable when somebody's offering us something. And we don't have to know everything about everything, but we need to know some basic concepts and some basic strategies and some basic rules and laws of money. And then we can be comfortable, and we can also demand to be respected in our conversations and not talked down to or talked over our heads. That's such a common thing. And again, it's one of those things we're talking about. It's kind of tradition, and we need to all get in the face of that tradition and be romping on it.
I agree. And, of course that, so I'm posting little nuggets that I'm getting ideas from you that I think our viewers should write down and really think about or ponder on and think about, because that's what expands our mind. You mentioned business owners, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you were a business owner. I've heard this many times myself, is we have a business owner and they didn't know. I think one of the biggest challenges, I'm going to say, And not so much for myself, because my thing is the moment that I start to feel shame or blame around something, I want to quash it. I
Great.
don't want to live with it.
It's a great choice.
But most, I think a good majority of people, like especially if you're a business owner that's like really gotten up there, you've got a community of people looking to you, but you are just not where you should be with your money. I don't know if you have any tips or something that you could share with that particular person, because for some reason that struck me. And I think that, if we can keep our business owners intact and
Mhm.
keep on going and keep their money stories intact, not let it take them down, forget about the shame, forget about the blame. Like what tips would you like? What did you do, or how did you pull that resiliency out to just, how did you muster that and get that
Yeah,
done?
well, I think most of us small business owners, usually when we start a business, it's because we have a passion about something or an interest in something, and we desire to make our own way, right? To create our own environments, create our own income, grow something, develop something, build something, share something. And so we're working in our area of passion usually, and so we're trying to do like the front end of our business
Mhm.
and be in that area that we love. Well, then you got to add marketing, and then you got to add this, and then you got to add that, and then you're supposed to know all about the backside of it, which is all the money stuff. And it's like, honestly, that's where people start being disillusioned with being in the area of passion and having their own businesses, because there's so many hats to wear. So one of the things I would recommend is that try on the concept of building a team of resources. Many of them you already are going to do. You're going to have a property and casualty person. You're going to have somebody to help you with your health insurance. You may have an attorney that you've got a phone number and you can call if you need them, or you've got something like Legal Shield. You probably have a CPA or a tax preparer, or you should. You should not be doing that on your own. Those change every year, and that person needs to be someone who specializes in working with business owners. Uh, you would probably, hire out somebody to do social media. You maybe have a broker. You maybe have someone like us who works on safe money strategies and balances what the broker is referring. But you should embrace having a team of people and acknowledge that you're going to find those people as you're growing your business and hand off responsibilities to them. Right now in 2020, we have had an unusual year. And many of us don't have the expenses and the deductions and the things that we normally have. Well, hopefully you have a great person that you're talking to about, what do I do so that I'm not writing a big fat check to the IRS? What do I need to do? And so it's important to have those people around you. And most of them don't cost any money. Most of us don't cost any money to have at your beck and call. And so utilize people like us. Uh, Build a team. I didn't know that as a business owner for all those years. I did not realize that. I just thought, oh, I got to have that person for this and I got to have that person for that. But I wasn't conscious of, I need to build my team of specialists and strategists to help me protect my business and run it properly and get the tax deductions I need and all of those things. So I would say, uh, build your team. And I know in working with us, we build our teams of people like that, if somebody needs, a mortgage person or a great realtor, we've built our teams of people that treat our clients the same way we treat our clients. We demand pretty high level, authentic, honest people to refer our clients to. So, they can start with you if they need somebody. So I would say that that's, something that we're not taught as a business owner.
I agree. So, you know what, you hit the nail on the head is, I'm going to say for myself as a business owner, one of the big things is I do like to know all the inner workings, so that this way when I'm overseeing, I know that things are getting done right. And I think every piece is like this taught, not told piece,
Yes.
right? I'm
Yeah.
not just being told, hey, this is how it's going to be done. I'm being taught. So I'm going to say you etch out a piece of time where you learn like you said, the essentials or the top nuggets that you need to know, and then delegate it off. And I'm going to say, like, even recently, looking at when I was interviewing people for my administrative piece, and when I'm interviewing them, I'm looking for them to teach me, right? I need teachable moments. It cannot just be that, hey, I'm the expert, this is what I'm going to do for you. Well, no, I need to know how do you do that, right? So I can, like, make sure it's a match. I also like to know about their values, right? See a little bit like where their value system is. If they aren't really sure about that, then it may be like I might go to the next person, just depending on what's going on. But if I get somebody that just comes in and they're telling me what they're going to do, and they never ask a question about me or my business, I think that's a red flag. Don't you?
Yeah, I think you have to think of it like a team, right? These are like your power partners, your strategic team to keep you, just like we develop our power partners, and our referral people. You want to know good people, and as business owners, most of us have the luxury of being involved in networking groups and being involved in leadership groups and things like that. And so we have the ability to find the right people and refer the right people to each other. And this is your go with your intuition, pay attention. And if you get down the road a ways and you're like, I keep questioning this, don't be afraid to like do over, rethink it or ask. I mean, we live in such a wonderful environment now where we can endorse each other and we can check people out and we can ask for referrals for different things. You got to think about it like what we do when we're looking for a doctor or a pediatrician. What do? You ask your best friends. Who do you use? Do you love them? Are they wonderful? And restaurants and movies, we do it with everything else. Why would we not do it in this most important area of our life?
Yeah, the health of our money. I am going to have us, I'm just loving this and I can't wait for us to join back. I'm going to have us take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Dr. Lois Frankel, where we learn how to stand up, speak out and get heard. So let's hear our little message from Dr. Lois Frankel. So we're back, and Dr. Lois Frankel has this new book out about speaking up, and it said "nice girls," and I always like to tell people, you know what? It isn't just for girls, guys. If you want to know more about how girls talk and how they need shifts or can be empowered, and you can help that, that's a great book, especially if daughters, sisters, mothers, and then for we ladies. I'm going to say I grew up as a nice girl. I used to get teased about that. That doesn't mean you're not an empowering girl. And that's really what Dr. Lois is going after because, you were just supposed to be a nice girl and be quiet. You were just supposed to be a nice girl and listen. And she talks about 75 avoidable mistakes with our money. So what's really amazing is that we have all these empowering women that have really trailblazed for us and are continuing. I'm going to say, Tina, you're continuing that trailblazing and really, you're working with Five Rings, which is an organization that is a financial organization that is primarily female based. at this point in time.
We're very proud of that. It's very unique in the financial industry. That's been kind of traditionally a man's industry for years and years and years. And we have, I believe it's over about 65% of our teammates are female, which is great for us. I mean, how many of you already, you look for female doctors and you look for female dentists and we communicate, I don't know. I always do. I feel more comfortable. And so it makes sense that we would look for a female person to help us with our money, be our money coach. Because we, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we do kind of communicate a little differently than men. And so it makes it a little easier, I think, to provide an environment that you're comfortable in, especially, we talk about money, which can be, for most of us, until we move into an environment like this. So it's a little intimidating. It's a little foreign. It's a little taboo. It's a little, the guys are supposed to do it. There's so many of those rules and social ideas, around money. So
that's still going
on. Have so many women on the team. It's actually been a very important impact and influence on how our company has developed our educational component so much, because we naturally do that as women. We naturally educate each other. If we go to, we find a wonderful shoe sale, we tell 20 of our friends. And if we go to a great restaurant, we tell 30 of our friends. See a good movie, go to a bad restaurant, we tell 50. So, we tend to share information anyway. And so that really helped with the development of not only our money class, our flagship Money 101 class, but then in the development of our Wine, Women, and Wealth programs that are exactly what you're talking about, a conversation about money in a very relaxed and safe environment. And then that launched a program for parents and grandparents called Money, Mommy, and Me, that is undoing what we've all been taught so that we can learn what is a better way to be talking to our children about money, so that they're not figuring it out in their 20s, 30s, and 40s like we had to, and they're being taught great lessons from the get-go. So really proud of all that.
It's so amazing, because then it just becomes, I'm going to say, this envelopment in around money in such a positive way. I know that when I first came into Five Rings 6 years ago, it was only 50, and I say only 52% female based. But it was also the vision, the dreams, the core values. And some people say, but that's not financial. And I say, oh, yes, it is. I think the thing that makes most women comfortable, a huge compliment is, we hear Warren Buffett say, when we're dealing with our money, it's only about math and logic, right? Math, science, logic. And he says there is no emotion in money, but for women, there is.
Mm-hmm.
And if we aren't able to respond or help gauge our reactions and help have support in leading us what might be appropriate response, we don't overcome the hurdle of the emotion, and we never get to the money piece. And so just like you're saying, it's all about this getting together, this community, the communication and support of one another, which is creating this thriving group of 52% to now only 6 years later to being 65%, which I actually had not realized. That's super phenomenally huge. And there's a reason, because of the alignment with the relationship, with the stories, with being taught. Because, I don't know about you, but if my husband were to, if we didn't have our little GPSs nowadays, I do remember a time when I was actually going to a workshop and my husband had come with me, and we were driving back, and he wasn't really good. He's from Italy. So, he was not really good with directions. And I was super tired because I was actually giving a talk at that time and teaching, and I was exhausted. I'm like, look, all you have to do is take the freeway straight up. Don't go anywhere else. Don't veer off. And somehow we ended up in the boonies. And he was waking me up going, where are we? And it's like I had barely fell asleep for 10 minutes. But most of the times, guys will not ask for directions. That's one thing that's a little bit different about women. And then some of us will even go to the great lengths of putting a show on called It's Time to Feel Good About Money to spread the message.
Mm-hmm.
I think very importantly is the why around our money, right? If the driver is just money and cash, I don't think it's very fulfilling. But when we find what our why is truly inherently, which we have not had discussions about, so we don't really know,
Mm-hmm.
then they don't come out. One of the first things that happened when I was learning and growing was I want to cut the bankruptcy rate due to medical related issues in half. Why? Because I had a personal life experience. I didn't end up in bankruptcy, but it did deplete all my resources. And no one should ever go from being a breadwinner to feeling like a burden, because no one is a burden. If we can turn it, that challenge into a gift. And I think that when we are in these communities, like you're saying, and we're sharing, we're actually getting to share the gifts of our experiences, which then create maybe triggers that we didn't even realize were there in a safe zone where we can share, right? The wine woman wealth and the money mommy and me. And I was having a conversation with somebody today, and it was pretty fascinating. Young person, 35, had a small child that was in their, 2.5, 3 age. And child comes in and goes, I broke the TV with my dinosaur. Like a statement, look at your face, like a statement of fact. No big deal. And he's thinking, the child is expecting it to be replaced. So there's a 5 and a 3-year-old. And I thought to myself, Money Mommy and Me is really good. It's following a book called How to Make Your Kid a Money Genius. And at 3 is when they start to formulate their money beliefs. I said, you have the most beautiful, I know you're not happy about the TV, but you actually have the most beautiful teaching moment for your child right now. That teaching moment is, okay, this is how much a TV costs. What toys would you like to sell to get money to contribute? So you're teaching them family contribution and the cost of something. And you are now teaching that child with whatever they can do, even if it's they give you a toy and you say, okay, this is how much this toy would cost. And you take a $5 bill for the toy and you put it in a jar or in a bucket that they see their $5. And then you can go donate that to some child who does not have something. And you just create it. I'm all about creating, win circles. And when we start to have discussion like this, wins come up all the time. It's no longer that it takes a miracle for that to happen. It literally happens every day. So, oh my gosh, so many great, amazing things. I think one of the things that's really was big for me that I love that, I've heard you say is about how we get to hack our own hard drive.
Yes.
I love.
I got on. So first, a couple things about what you just said, because I love what you said. I think in households that women live in, 85 to 90% of them, the women are involved in the money decisions. Okay, that does not sound shocking, right? We're involved in all the decisions. We're the ones buying groceries. We're the ones taking care of the kids for sports, all those different things. So the fact that many people have stress around money is a nightmare. So as you said, minimizing bankruptcy, by knowing how to alter and make new decisions. What if we could just take financial strife out of households? Like, how many people spend energy and time arguing about money? Well, it must be a lot, because they say 50% of divorce is due to money. So you know why that is? We just don't have information. If you this is the hard drive stuff, right? You get into the patterns. You cannot break a pattern if you don't have any new information. And so new information breaks patterns. New ways of doing things breaks patterns, breaks those old dances that we fall into and those old default programs. So a few years ago, we got involved in this, really fun brain stuff, like, a quest for figuring out our brains. and started, getting involved with different things and hacking our brains. And I love Vishen Lakhiani in Mind Valley. He has a book called Code of the Extraordinary Mind, which does many of the things that I've shared with you tonight, which is, if you don't have a word for something, can't you even see it? And he put some new words out there about, the culturescape and rules and some things where now I can see these things because I have a word for them. All of these traditions, he calls it the culturescape, and the expired beliefs, he puts rules, bullshit rules. So if you have a word for it, can you start identifying it and then making a new choice? And hardwiring can be as simple as changing a meaning around something like budget or challenge, or really, being investigative about what your beliefs are. One of the things that worked really well for me was to pay attention to anything that triggered me, like something that makes me get upset and like heightened in my emotions. I call that a trigger, and then I like to look where that came from. Again, is it something that is my true authentic response, or am I reacting because I have stories in there that I've been programmed and indoctrinated to respond to something a certain way, or react, I should say, to something in a certain way? So yeah, I love all of that, and that's my favorite book right now on hacking your brain and reprogramming. But most of it starts with awareness, right? It starts with a decision that I'm going to change some things. And to change something in your life, our CEO always says, to change something in your life, you're probably going to have to change something in your life. And it usually starts with your inner talk, and being mindful of, what are you saying to yourself? Are you telling yourself money is hard? Are you telling yourself that I don't like to think about money? I don't want to know about money. Money is scary. Money is intimidating. And if those things are in your mind and you don't know it, you're going to be a victim of them rather than mastering your own thoughts and mastering your own life. So part of it is just stepping into awareness and making a decision that, I'm going to start paying attention to how do I feel when I'm paying my bills? How do I feel when I'm looking in my wallet? What am I thinking when I'm shopping? Do I need this? Do I want this? Or am I feeling sad or lonely about something else, and I'm trying to fill a void by an activity that's totally unrelated, and I'm screwing up my financial life because of it? So it's a decision to start paying attention. And it's for me, I loved choosing to go down a road to master. Like, I wanted to master money. I wanted to build wealth. I didn't ever want to be sitting there and figuring out, if I pay the bills, I don't have any money left to buy groceries. I lived through all of that. And then money is mastering you so much of your time. And I wanted to master it. And it's what your girlfriend that you just showed us, right?
Right.
Mastering our lives, taking ownership and responsibility for ourselves, because we actually live inside these bodies. We are our own person, and we do have a voice, and we do have a choice, and we do are blessed with minds to know that we can make a difference. We can make a choice. Anybody on this broadcast knows that already. So now it's just like, let's bring all that we're doing in the rest of our lives into this money aspect and change it. I was actually pretty surprised at how quickly I could change things when I started thinking about them differently. I told you we were in a bad place when we started, and I was, I knew I could run a business. I knew I could make money. I had blocks. I had a lot of programs around think small. Many of us as females have that think small, play small, be small. And I had some things to overcome, and needed some time and some work and some guidance, a community to help me build my confidence around things. But I was really surprised how little shifts could make such a difference. And little amounts of information about, how does compound interest really work for me? How's it work against me? Was shocked. I mean, that was like the coolest thing I ever learned. And I was like, why didn't I learn this in junior high school? Um, Things about taxes and strategies. And I was really surprised how quickly I could turn things around and be paying off credit card debt, and what it felt like to write that final check and be done, with that, and how liberating and empowering doing some of those things were. Starting a savings account and actually, watching it grow. Small things made a big difference. And so it was really, the shift was just to make the decision I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to have a different relationship here. And I was lucky that I found people like you way back then that were able to teach me different mindsets about money. So that's what I love so much about what you're doing, is helping people change the mindset, because it isn't logistically that hard to change. It's just our mindset.
It is just our mindset.
Yeah.
And I love that. And, mastering our attitudes, mastering our activities, mastering over the choices that we get to make to be empowered and live an empowered life around our money. I call that good financial stewardship, right? Because just like you said, you are no longer a slave or enslaved to it.
No.
You are no longer indoctrinated by the thinking around. You surround yourself by amazing people like yourself, and cultures and groups. And I know I said at the beginning, I'm going to put a little bit of how people can, reach out to you if they like, or if they want to get to me on there. There's two things. I was trying to space it out, but there's the Donnelly team at Five Rings Financial LLC on Facebook. If you want to go like that, you can learn more. There's also LinkedIn for Tina Donnelly. And really, because Tina, and myself, we're out here and we want to make sure everybody gets to be taught and not told. You all get the opportunity, or if you know someone who's thinking about a career in finances, or maybe they're struggling with a company because they're not in alignment, integrity, or culturally, it's not what they thought it would be, then they can come out. And as Tina says, you can test drive and look and check it out. Test drive a community. Just like I'm going to say what we do in business as business owners, networking groups. You check something out, vet it, see if it's in alignment, it supports you and builds you and you around your money relationship to be the best that you can be. Tina, this has been totally priceless. We could go on forever and ever, I think. Until the next time, I definitely will bring you back. I just thank you for.
Thank you. I so love and respect, and I'm so proud of all the work that you're doing and all the people that you're helping. And it was my pleasure to be here. And you're such a joy every time I'm with you. So thank you for having me. I loved it.
Thank you. And we wish everybody a peace-filled, joyous evening. And if you want to know more, just message Mama Rita or mamaridamoney.com, or reach out to Tina Donnelly, and we would love to hear you and support you and guide you. All right. Until the next time, ciao for now. Lots of love. Bye.